Update. I-19 male recently found out that my older sister, 34 female, is actually my biological mother. Original post. My older sister, let's call her Rose, and I have a great relationship since I was a baby. We were raised with an amazing adoptive family and she has always taken care of me. I grew up in a very warm and loving environment, but from what I was told, I was lucky. I was told the story of how me and my sister had two drug addict parents who never took care of us. They never bothered feeding us and used to left us at a junkie friend's house for days to go out partying. When my mom was pregnant with me, she smoked and got drunk. Luckily, I turned out pretty fine. And when I was born, my sister was the only one who took care of me. When I was 2 months old, they left us both in a mall and left. We got help from an old couple, who also turned into our adoptive family, and we contacted the police, but my parents weren't at the house, which looked like a homeless cave. We never saw them again, and after several months in foster care, the couple that helped us, throughout the whole way by the way, agreed to adopt us. Today I'm 19 and Rose is 34. I still live with my adoptive family, and she lives about 20 minutes away, so I come and visit her at least 3 to 4 times a week. So a couple of months ago, my friend offered me to take a DNA test to find some information about my heritage, since my sister wouldn't speak of them much. After the results came in, I found out some pretty interesting things, like being 50% Ashkenazi Jew, and I found out later that I had an aunt, 33 female, in the system. I immediately reached out to her, let's call her Janet, and we agreed to meet in person. All that without telling Rose a thing. When we met up, I could see we have some similar characteristics like same hair color and same eyes. We tried to figure things out. So I asked her if she has a brother or sister, and she told me that when she was 13, her 14-year-old sister got pregnant while being drunk with her junkie boyfriend, and a month after giving birth, she ran away with a baby after some pretty intensive fights with her parents. They never found her and stopped looking after 1.5 years. I connected the dots, asked to see a picture of her, so we went to her parents' house. The mom wasn't home, and father died 3 years ago. When I saw the picture, I knew. This was Rose, 100%. Rose is my mom. We were never abandoned. We didn't have junkie parents, and she fabricated the entire thing to me and our adoptive family. I immediately gave Janet a hug and told her that it's too much for me right now and asked her to keep it a secret for now. I went to my best friend's house, told him everything, and for a week now I'm sleeping over at his place. I told my parents and my sister that I'm at his house because he bought a new game that we both wanted for a long time and avoided talking to Rose much. I can't look her in the eyes right now, let alone tell her I know the truth. What the heck am I supposed to do? How should I handle this? Should I tell her I know? Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Keep in mind your aunt was 13 and her view is probably heavily colored by her parents' representation of what happened. Please update us when you can. In my opinion, your sister/mom did what she needed to do in order to make sure she could keep you safe, allow you to grow up normally, have good role models as parents to set good examples for you, and also allow her to stay by your side during your life so she could somehow help raise you/see you grow. What else was she supposed to do given her situation? She was a mom at a young age, but a mom nevertheless. And when maternal instincts kick in, you cut out the things standing in your way from doing what you think is best for your baby. She probably knew her parents would make her give up the baby, something she clearly didn't want. She probably was afraid of the baby being around its father if he was a junkie, which is understandable. And she understood that if she wanted a better life for her child and be involved in the child's life, she needed to get away from people who would try to control her and force her to go down a path she didn't want to go down. Regardless, it sounds like Opie had a good family and support system. It sounds like Opie's real mom got her crap together. She was allowed to turn a new leaf, and the reason she changed her whole life's trajectory was for this baby who is Opie. Do you know how painful it must have been to never say you're the mother of your own child? Everything she did for Opie. I understand it's very confusing right now, but you grew up in a better situation than you would have if she didn't lie. I think it's smart of her to say she's the sister and not the mom. They may not have adopted her if she was the young mom of this baby. She would have potentially lost Opie otherwise. Sounds like she did the best she could for you under the worst conditions. She stayed in your life and protected you. You said you were raised with love and compassion. You could have had a horrible childhood, but you didn't. It's not ideal, but it's not terrible either. You should talk about it with her. I agree. I mean, people are judging her and fail to realize this girl was 14 years old. 14. She did the best she could with her situation. Seriously, this is a person asking for advice. No one should be condemning the mom/sister because it sounds like she tried her hardest in a horrible situation. I sure as hell know I wouldn't have had any idea on what to do if I were in her place. It sounds like she was ashamed of her past and has gotten better but didn't want you to know who she used to be due to the shame. So she made a story up, which is actually probably true in ways, but the mom is her, in order to protect you. I think you should approach this with compassion. She didn't lie to hurt you. She lied because she loved you and hated her past self. It sounds like she dearly loves you and made it incredibly difficult, but right call to give you to an adoptive family so you could have a much better life than she could give. It's a lot to take in, but does it really change that much? You just went from having a loving sister to loving mom, which isn't a big difference, honestly. Many older sister acts like a mother anyways. I think you are gonna be okay. Now for the first update. My best friend just took me out for a movie and a drink. I'm not that drunk right now though. I thank you all so much for your warm replies. Made me look at the situation a bit clearer. I have decided to break it to Rose this week, but I need some time to think about how to tell her I know. I don't know if I should try getting there slowly or just break the news to her somehow. I even considered bringing her sister with me, but I genuinely think she will be pissed. I'll keep updating as soon as I'll decide how to tell her. Right now, going to bed to sleep it over. After seeing some comments asking how the adoption process went, I decided I need to explain some things. First of all, it's worth mentioning that the adoption process wasn't immediate and it took about a year between the time that happy couple found us outside a mall and the time they adopted us. We were in foster care that time and Rose used to keep touch with them and they would come visit us once or twice a week. Or so I'm told. I don't know what to believe now. Eventually, Rose broke down in tears for them and told them she hates foster care and that her little brother, me, would grow up here and she couldn't bear that thought. At the time, they decided to try and adopt her and hired lawyers and stuff, and after a few months it was legal and done. At least that's what I was told. I don't think my adoptive parents knew, but if they did, then that story is probably a lie too. Now for the second and full update. Okay, so I first of all want to thank everyone for your honest replies. It really helped me to get my feelings straight and get ready to confront her. So after a week of avoiding, I came to her house with a picnic basket by surprise, so I'll have a chance to speak with her. She was happy to see me and I told her to sit down because we need to talk. I started things with saying that I know that she has a secret that she's been hiding from me for years. Her face turned red and she started crying like hell. She knew what I was talking about. I told her the story about the DNA test, about Janet, and basically what I told you guys in the last post. Well, after she calmed down a bit, she told me the truth. She told me how she got drunk at a party and slept with one of the jerks who does nothing but tweet every day. He didn't really care about a future kid and was like, yeah, whatever. Apparently, she found out that 10 years ago he was stabbed in prison after sitting for dealing, assault and armed robbery. She told me how her mother used to convince her father to talk me out of the idea of keeping the baby. They would constantly fight with her. When the baby was born, they told her on the spot that she brought shame upon the family, and they will not help raise the baby in any way, meaning she will have to work meanwhile to have money for her baby and sometimes for herself. After a couple of months loaning from her friends and juggling between work and taking care of me, she had a huge fight with her parents and told them that if they are not helping financially and barely in any sort of way, she and me are better off without them. As they sent her to her room, she escaped in the middle of the night, hitchhiked to a neighboring county, and by morning she was already there. She tried to take care of me for a few days. She found an old abandoned house that used to have homeless people coming around every now and then, and she took me to the mall when I started crying. She started crying too. The couple that adopted us immediately came to our aid and asked if we lost our mother. Rose jumped on the opportunity and came up with a story and an alias. Police figured out we are not in the system for multiple reasons. We were raised in foster care for a year and a half until the couple that helped us decided to make the effort and adopt us so we won't be separated. It took them a few months and a couple of lawyers, but they managed to adopt us both. Rose knew all along that her parents are looking for her. They came to their senses after a day or so. She reached out to them and told them in a letter that she's fine and is taking care of herself and me, she's not homeless, and found a nice couple to help her with a baby. She made it clear for them that she's never coming back, and they should stop looking, and a month after that they stopped. A few years later, her father went on a quest to find her. She was past 18, secretly. After so much time searching, he found her and apologized, and after a while she forgave him and kept secretly in touch with him. He met me a few times, and I knew him as one of Rose's old friends from the park. He helped us a few times, and apparently they would meet up once every 2 months secretly. Ironically, I'm glad I got to know him before he passed, even if I didn't know who he really is. By the way, the adoptive family never found out about the whole thing. So after hearing this, I told her we missed a lot by not knowing she is my mother, and I told her I understand she did the right thing. I pulled out an "It's a boy" sign from the picnic basket and some snacks for a late baby shower, and we hugged for an hour or so. Had a lot of fun, watched a movie, and I headed off to my adoptive parents' house to have dinner with them. I'm glad she is my mother. I feel, for the first time in years, complete. I don't care that she lied, because she did it for the greater good, and I honestly can't imagine my life right now if she didn't. Thanks guys for helping me getting my feelings straight and helping me out mentally to cope with everything that happened. So, did they ever tell the adoptive parents? I remember this one. They didn't. The adoptive parents raised both of them, so they're still mom and dad. Probably for the best, to be honest. The adoptive parents never found out that a homeless 14-year-old with a newborn baby was an obvious teen mom. I hope he's hilarious. Of course they knew she was a teen mom lying her butt off. Why would they confront a 14-year-old over her obvious statutory rape if she wanted to hide from the stigma of being a teen mom and claim the newborn was her brother? I hope he's gonna have a shock once he finds out that it takes more than a month to heal from childbirth, and that everyone knew his 14-year-old sister was a teen mom who was lying about it. Exactly. They might not know her full story, but they are aware that she was lying to keep her son and herself safe. They knew enough to know she was in desperate need of help. Adopting them both so they can help her recover and avoid re-traumatizing her by having her baby taken away for replacement? That's a hero move right there. They're quality parents. Now for the last story. How do I tell my sister her toxic marriage is why I don't hang out with her anymore? I, 38 female, am having trouble being there for my sister, 32 female, and I'm not sure how to tell her why. I'm about 2 years out of a 17-year marriage that ended extremely badly. We had issues throughout the relationship, as well as a lot of fun, but the last couple years he was intensely controlling, abusive, and violent. And since he left, I've done a lot of work to recover and get myself in a healthy headspace. My sister went through a rough patch around the same time my divorce started, and I learned way too much about her husband, 37 male, during that period to ever trust him again. They've been together for years, and while he's never been my family's favorite, because he's an insufferable know-it-all, dominates every conversation and generally pretty annoying, we all just dealt with it because she loved him and we're adults. But since their rough patch, I haven't been able to be around him. During that time, he served her with divorce papers and told her he was going to take their 1-year-old baby away and never let my sister see her again. He convinced my sister she would lose in court anyway, to the point that her plan was to give up, sign all the paperwork he gave her, and leave their baby while she moved out of state with our other sister. This all sounds bad, but my sister is extremely naive and also has the worst anxiety I've ever seen. She was convinced she'd lose their baby no matter what, and she was so broken down she didn't have it in her to fight. Anyway, she told me this plan and I successfully talked her out of it, got her a great lawyer, and she was on her way towards accepting their divorce and rebuilding her life when he suddenly changed his mind. And they reconciled and have been acting like everything is fine ever since. During their eventually canceled divorce, my sister was terrified of being homeless and not having anywhere to go. I was starting over too, so our plan was that I'd buy a triplex, and she and her baby could live in one of the units, me in one, and our little brother, 22 male, in the third one. I went ahead with that plan, and have just been renting out my sister's unit and let her know it's there if she needs it. I cannot be around my sister's husband at all. I've seen behind the scenes. I know he's mistreating her emotionally, financially, and I strongly suspect physically too, although she'd never admit it. I am aware that the right thing to do here is support her decision and grin and bear his company, but I can't do it. I get that it's immature of me, but the situation is too much like my own marriage, and I won't be within 100 feet of it. I especially don't want him in my new home, which for 2 years has been a happy, healthy, peaceful, safe zone. My sister basically won't leave the house without this man, because of her anxiety and also his control issues, and they are literally always together. She posted on Instagram a few weeks ago about being sad and confused, about why her family never spends time with her anymore. I'd like to gently explain the situation to her, but I'm not sure how to tactfully say, "It's not you, it's your awful husband we can't stand." Looking for advice on how to softly tell her I'm here if she needs me, but that I'm unwilling to be around her husband. Now for the advice. This is tricky because right now she's in a dangerous phase. The phase where they've reconciled and it's them against the world. Understand first and foremost, anything you say right now will get back to him. My suggestion is to make it clear that you simply want to spend time with just her. Don't say it's an issue with him. Become a broken record and let her make the connection. It's really important to me that you and I can spend time together, just us. Can you find an opportunity for that? She's gonna push. You don't like him? And that's when you say, nope, that's not it. Nothing to do with him. It's really important to me that you and I have opportunities to spend time together. Just us. Keep him out of it. Will it be very obvious that he is the problem? Yes. Can you afford for those words specifically to get back to him? Nope. You lose them both. She will follow him because you'll become the enemy. Ask after him. He's good? Good to hear it. Call her for catch-ups. Make it clear you want the relationship with her. This is not about him, even though, of course, it is. As time goes on and they go into different phases of this cycle, you'll be able to address things more directly. For now, I'd start here. I think this is a very grounded way to do it, and probably the best. Of course, it's about him, but what you are after is to strengthen your relationship with your sister. And taking it day by day, becoming a part of each other's life, will ease you both into coming closer and remind you how precious your bond is. And it will also maybe remind her of who she is, where she comes from, who she is without him.
Am I the a-hole for telling my ex-wife we aren't a team and I'm the only one to make parenting decisions? Hello everyone, posting this because I've been extremely conflicted after this last argument with my ex. I don't want to diminish her accomplishments, and I hope it doesn't come across that way in a post. For context, when I was young, I married who I thought was my soulmate and had 2 kids together, a daughter and a son. Unfortunately, I did not know my wife was an addict and alcoholic when we married. She hid it extremely well, until a few years in, I began noticing patterns and eventually confronted her. We split when the oldest was 3, and she signed over custody. I know she ended up being homeless a while after our split because her parents didn't want anything to do with her. Did not know anything besides that. Then she contacted me about a year back and told me she was 3 years sober, had a stable job at home. I checked with her family and everything, and yeah, she was telling the truth. She really wanted to meet her kids, and while I was a little upset at the "her kids" line, I eventually decided it wasn't my decision to make and left it up to the kids, who are now 16 male and 17 female, going on 18. They decided they wanted to meet her, and that was that. They have been hanging out with her about twice a week, and I let her come over for dinner almost every night. No sleepovers at her place as of now. So far, they've kind of have the aunt-ish relationship with her, but they do seem to be enjoying it. Which brings me to our conflict. I am far from being a great dad, but I honestly believe I am a good one. I've built trust with my kids through therapy and heart-to-hearts over the years. They're fairly popular at their school, and they recently got invited to a party that I gave them the go-ahead to go. I've spoken to them about the dangers of alcohol, drugs, etc., and they know I am always available to pick them up in a situation they don't want to be in. They also know why me and their mother split up. The kids came home around 11 and just gave me the teen-type rundown. Who was there, they couldn't believe who did what, blah blah. They also were honest with me and told me they tried Jell-O shots, which they thought were gross. That was the end of that. They weren't drunk, they weren't buzzed. They tried a drink and that was that. They were there for 2 hours and came home. Well, I guess they brought up the party in front of their mother that following breakfast meetup, and she was livid. She tried to ground them from electronics and socializing for 2 weeks. They said it was really awkward and asked me to pick them up without much of the details. While they were waiting in a car, I spoke to her, and when she told me, I honestly laughed. I asked her what gave her the right. She responded that she really wants to be a mother to her kids, and I should give her the chance to parent. That she's giving 100% to this to make this work. I told her it's way too late for that. The kids are basically adults, have part-time jobs, pay for their phone bills/clothes by choice, and are deep into their plans for adulthood. She then told me I was robbing her chance to make things right, and asked what was the point of letting her into their lives if I wasn't letting her be a mom. That we needed to be a team because she needed my support. And here's where I might be the a-hole. I told her the kids are well past the age of asking me why mommy doesn't love them when crawling into my bed at night, and that she was welcome to leave again. And as far as being a team, the only team is me and my kids. I am their parent. They listen to me and respect me because I've listened to and respected them their whole lives. We have not spoken since then, now going on a week and a half. She has still texted the kids good mornings/night messages, but has skipped 2 meetups they usually have so far. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She needs to know her place. It's great she got clean, but she missed out on basically their entire childhood. She now needs to accept she won't have that mother/kid relationship with them like she wants. I agree. I just don't want this experience to kill the effort she put in. I do believe she can have a relationship with the kids, and they also seemingly want some type of relationship with her. But they aren't kids. My daughter is hoping to study abroad in Germany because she wants to move there. This is past the dreamer level because she's put a lot of time into it already and has her scholarship applications planned out. I think your last interaction with her warrants a text to her to discuss things. While it's impossible for her to mommy to her children, it is still possible for her to be mom to her adult children if she builds her relationship the right way. I'd focus on burying, but not forgetting the past, and to not screw up the future over it. I have friends who have similar stories to your children, and they were able to salvage a relationship with a parent after many years of them not being around. They would say, my dad may not have been there for the first 10 years, but for the last 20 he has been nothing but supportive and loving. I know this is stupid, but this made me bawl a little. I truly want my kids to know even just 1/10 of the woman I knew. If she can become that woman for them, I'm for it. I just hope I'm not in the way. Hey, you're honest. If you haven't put in the work and been there, almost adult teens don't need you getting involved. And it doesn't matter how much you want to participate, if it's your own choices in life that made you lose that relationship. Not the a-hole. Like I mentioned in the post, I don't want to discredit her. She knew I wasn't going to let some freshly sober stranger around my kids. She did seemingly work hard at it, and started repairing the smaller relationships first before she decided she was ready to try and face us. It's just unfortunate she was this late. She is closer to being the woman I knew when we met now than our entire marriage. Next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting to divorce my husband over kids? I, female 29, knew from a young age I don't ever want to have or raise children. I met my husband in college, and he was decidedly child-free too. We got married a couple of years back. My husband's younger sister, female 24, has 3 kids, male 5 and 2-year-old twins with different deadbeat guys. 2 months ago, she left all of them at our house. Said she was going on an errand and never came back. Just left. We filed a report and everything, and last we heard, she was safe, but did not want to come back. My husband's mom is a minimum wage worker barely scraping by. She used to be a single mom and did not want to raise these kids. I don't want to raise them either. Don't get me wrong, I feel bad for them. But raising kids is a huge responsibility I don't want to take up. In the 2 months they were here, our expense has increased. We had to buy them clothes and stuff, and they are sleeping in our living room on air mattresses as we only have 1 bedroom. I had to work from home and look after them because my husband could not get work from home, and daycare for 3 is expensive. It has been really rough to say the least. CPS did get involved and ask us whether we want to keep the kids or not. I do not. I thought my husband would be on the same page, but he wants to keep the kids. CPS has asked us to decide quickly and make necessary changes. Get a bigger home for one. My husband and I have gone back and forth on this. I cannot live the next 16 years like this. Raising kids is hard and expensive, but he wants to be there for his family, which I get. So yesterday I told him I want a divorce, quickly, before he made any commitments and dragged me into it with him. He called me an a-hole for divorcing over kids, for abandoning him when he needed me. I told him he knew my boundaries well in advance, and this was a commitment, children, that he is unilaterally deciding on. Am I the a-hole? Edit. This is not relevant, but it is increasingly annoying when 1 out of 5 comments are telling me about wedding vows. We did not do traditional wedding vows. We do not believe until death do us part. Our vows did include not having children. Our vow was to stay together till staying apart made us happier than staying together will. Staying in a toxic relationship where you hate each other's guts just because you made a vow was never appealing to us. While some may think you're a hard person for your decision, you are not the a-hole. You had this crazy idea that you would get to remain child-free when you married someone who also wanted to be child-free. It's not like you're not agreeing on what temp to set the furnace or what color to paint the kitchen. This is about as huge as it gets, and he made a choice he made, without caring about your feelings. I think he cares about her feelings. It's a horrible situation. He's right for stepping up though. Those kids have already been abandoned once by someone who is supposed to love them. Unfortunately, there is no right answer. Put the kids in the system is an a-hole move. Ignoring your wife's feelings and future plans is an a-hole move. He really has no choice but to be an a-hole in some way. He is choosing to put the innocent children above even his wants and desires. It's not that he doesn't care. He's just making the best decision for the kids. He can choose to step up, but he cannot force OP to step up as well. And it feels like he just dumped them on her to deal with. I can't fault either of them. Only a-hole here is the sister. The sister who abandoned her children is the absolute a-hole. If you don't want to help him with the kids, then leave. He didn't want kids either. They were dumped on him. I can certainly understand why he can't throw them out though. If there is truly no one else to care for them and sister has been reported and all the necessary avenues have been taken as far as she goes, then it comes down to putting them in foster care or caring for them. He probably wouldn't be able to live with himself if he put them in foster care. I wouldn't be able to either. He should start the process of hunting her down for child support immediately though. I'd say to Opie, if you have a sibling and he/she has kids and dumped them on you, and either you had to care for them or put them in foster care, what would you do? If you have no siblings and no nieces or nephews, it's really hard to put yourself in his shoes to answer that though. Next story. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my girlfriend after she was assaulted? My ex-girlfriend, female 24 and me, male 25, were at a bar last Friday, and when I left for 5 minutes to grab a hot dog as the bar stopped serving food at 11 p.m., I came back and found my girlfriend dancing intimately with a guy. I was angry, and I left an argument where she didn't really seem to understand why I was angry and called me dramatic and insecure. I decided this wasn't for me on my way home, because she was rubbing herself against the dude, but also because she dismissed me being hurt. However, I decided to sleep on the matter because we were both drunk, and I would give her another chance to explain. Next morning, I woke up to a million texts from her. She was asking me where I was and to come back. This was until 2 a.m. and then later at 7 a.m. from her mother telling me that ex-girlfriend was assaulted and beaten and that she was in the hospital. Since that day, I have been harassed by her family calling me out for leaving her drunk in the middle of the night. While I do feel bad for what happened to her and some guilt, I still don't know what I was supposed to have done. But now her mother tells me that I need to visit her. But I said that I wanted to make it clear that we are broken up. Decided that before anything happened, and that if I visited, maybe it would be worse, because she might think we are back together. I've talked to my family and they don't know what to say. It is all an unfortunate situation altogether, and I have no problem being there for her and supporting her. But wouldn't that give her the impression that we are back together? I don't want to add to her hurt, but at the same time, I'm done with this relationship. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Info. Does the ex know you broke up with her? You said you were both drunk, and also said you decided to sleep on the matter. I don't know. I couldn't just tell her it is over when I found out what happened. But her texts were angry, and she threatened to end it if I didn't come back. And the last one she called me insecure was. It was strange, because before I left, I told her I was going home, and that she could take an Uber home to her place because I didn't want to see her until we have sobered up. Have you showed her mom these messages? You need to break up with her. She completely disrespected and borderline cheated on you depending on what your boundaries were. Man, that title is really kind of misleading. Based on that, I was initially ready to throw out the YTA vote. But after reading it, what were you supposed to do? It seems to me that the relationship ended a few hours before she was assaulted. How are you to know that something so horrible were to happen to her? Nobody is at fault for her being assaulted except for the man who did it. Not the a-hole. I was asking if I should suck it up and be there for her until she's stronger. Then we can part ways. Nah, dude. Block the whole lot. It sucks it happened to her, but it is not your fault. And it's not on you to help her feel better, especially if it's just going to open more doors to her and her family berating you. If you haven't made it clear to her that you're not with her anymore, send her a text, then block. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not supporting my sister in having a baby? My female 32, sister Emma, female 29, has always wanted to have kids and be a stay-at-home mom. That's literally all she dreamed about. A big wedding, house, kids. I have a very different idea of life in the opposite direction, as in career and child-free. Let me be clear, I am not ditching her choice. Every person has right to their own choices. But I do not think forcing other people to bear brunt of your choices is good. To get to the story, our parents spent a fortune on my sister's wedding. She got married around 5 years ago, but they have trouble conceiving and has already gone through 2 sets of IVF. It is sad. Our parents don't have any money to help them, and neither does brother-in-law's family. From what I know, they don't have savings, are renting and have not paid off their student loans. So a few weeks ago, they asked if I could help them, and I said no. They asked why, and I just said my answer is no. I am sorry for them, but I won't give them money. They kept pushing about it, saying how I go on exotic vacations and own a house already. I do. I worked hard in college with full scholarship and immediately got a well-paying job. I lived within my means and saved up to buy my own house. It's not much, just a 2 BHK apartment. But to me it's great. I said my financial status is none of their business. If they want to have a family, they need to be able to afford it themselves, not ask me. My sister got mad at me saying I am refusing to help her because I hate children, that I am punishing her for her choices. I said I'm doing no such thing. She is entitled to her choices, but I'm not obliged to fund her. She is really mad at me for not helping, and my parents are asking me too. They're saying no matter my choices, I should support my sister since I can. I'm still not on board since I believe only people who can afford kids should have them, and that I shouldn't have to pay for her choices. My sister, her husband, and his family are calling me an a-hole though. Am I? Not the a-hole. You are not, in any universe, responsible for your sister's fertility issues. Your sister can get a job to fund her treatments and be a stay-at-home mom once the baby is born. Not the a-hole. Exactly. I don't get it. I've always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and still hope I do someday. However, I've always planned to work after marriage and before baby, even if I married someone with a good amount of money. What harm can possibly come from having a little more saved up? It really makes zero sense to refuse to work when you don't have a baby yet, but require expensive IVF treatments. Also, are you just never going to work again if you don't ever have a child? IVF is 5 figures minimum. You are not required to fund that for anyone. Also, how are they going to afford a kid then? Not the a-hole. Meanwhile, OP's vacation trips probably nowhere near 5 figures a year. Yet this has turned parents expect OP to fund more IVF treatments, while the previous 2 already failed badly. Even worse, if it does become successful, they're going to expect OP to fund a childcare and life of that baby as if she's the parent. Yeah, not the a-hole. It's clear her family is trying to financially take advantage and use her. She wouldn't be wrong to cut them off. It's completely irrelevant. She can spend millions a year on her vacations, and she would still be not responsible for her sister's issues. I was coming here to say this. She can spend 6 figures on private planes, and it still wouldn't be any of anyone's business. Spend your money any way you like, OP. Still isn't anyone's business.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay my mother-in-law for babysitting our toddler? My wife, 39 female, is turning 40 in 10 days. To celebrate, we are taking a 5-day vacation, just the 2 of us. It's the first time she and I, 38 male, have been away like this as a couple since the birth of our son almost 4 years ago. We planned this trip months ago, and my wife asked her mom if she would be willing to come to our house and watch our son while we are away, and mother-in-law agreed right away. Mother-in-law is in her early 60s, but doesn't have a real job. She will do cleaning for a brother who owns a bunch of rental properties, and it pays her in cash. So, it's not like she has a schedule she has to clear to stay with our son for a few days. Last weekend, my wife called mother-in-law to talk to her about our trip, and to ask if there's anything mother-in-law will need/want us to stock in the house as far as food or necessities. During the conversation, mother-in-law said that she will need $100 per day from us. This is the first time she ever brought up wanting to get paid to watch our son, and my wife was caught off guard and just kind of agreed to it. But when she got off the phone and told me about it, I got upset. I told her that mother-in-law is taking advantage of the situation because she thinks we have no other options. I told her that is BS that she sprung this on us so close to our trip, and I don't think we should pay her anything. I said that I would call my parents and see if they can watch our son instead. My wife told me that mother-in-law won't ask that sort of thing unless she needs the money, and that adding $500 to our vacation trip isn't that much of a big deal. I told her that it's not about the money to me, it's about mother-in-law being sneaky and manipulative. I called my mom and asked her if they would be able to watch our son instead, and she jumped at the idea. Both my parents are recently retired, so they have plenty of free time and would love an extended grandson visit. I didn't explain the reason for the change. I just told them that things didn't work out with mother-in-law. I told my wife that my parents can watch our son instead, and that she should call her mom and tell her that we no longer need her to babysit. She said that she didn't want to do that because mother-in-law was really looking forward to seeing our son, that it has been over 6 months. I told her that if she was looking forward to it that much, she wouldn't be trying to swindle us out of $500. I told her if she didn't want to make the call, I would gladly do it. She reluctantly made a call herself, but it didn't go well. Mother-in-law got upset because we are now depriving her of seeing her grandson. My wife got emotional and ended up backtracking and said she would talk to me and see if we could work something out. After the call, she asked me if there was some way we could figure this out, and I told her we aren't changing anything again this close to our trip. She said maybe we could offer mother-in-law a lesser amount, but I reiterated that it isn't about the money. It's about mother-in-law being sneaky and trying to take advantage of us. Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. $500 for 5 days of uninterrupted childcare is incredibly cheap. No non-family member would do it so cheaply. I'm also surprised that you don't seem to have planned to give her any money for groceries, activities, or meals out. I understand that you might have thought she was doing it for free as a relative, and that $500 may not be in the budget. I understand why you might decide to save money by having the other grandparents watch the kids. Where you turn into the a-hole is calling her a sneaky swindler or acting like she has no right to payment. The anger you are expressing seems massively over the top for the situation at hand. No non-family member would do it so cheaply. I don't know about that. My wife and I have watched our friends' kids for long weekends before. Never ask for payment. I don't know what kind of people so many of you commenters associate with, that everything has to be a transaction. And you can't just do something for people you care about out of kindness. That's what I was thinking. What kind of relationship do these commenters have? Are they all transactional? 5 days is nothing when you haven't seen your grandson in 6 months. It is not like it's a baby. It's a 4-year-old. Not the a-hole. If she needed/wanted to be paid, it should have been discussed up front. It's not something you bring up last minute. And she should not be offended about being turned down and try to guilt trip Opie and wife into letting her babysit. Not the a-hole. Just confirm that your parents won't want any monetary payment for the expected expenses. Not a chance. Even if I offered, they would refuse to accept anything. Helping family has never been transactional for me. Next story. Am I the a-hole for giving future mother-in-law 3 days to pay me for a new wedding dress, or else I showed a family a photo of her wearing it? So, I'm getting married to my fiancé soon. I bought my wedding dress weeks ago. My future mother-in-law kept pestering me about it trying it on, but I firmly refused. I finally shut it down after she offered me $100 to let her try it on. Her reasoning for persisting so much? She says it's because of her love for wedding dresses and her obsession with them. Fast forward to yesterday. I came home from work early and I found my fiancé at home. He freaked out after seeing me and tried to prevent me from going into my room while trying to text somebody on his phone. I opened the door and was shocked to see his mom standing there wearing my dress. I instantly pulled out my phone and took a photo of her in it. She and my fiancé freaked out after I told her she needed to pay me for a new dress in 3 days, or else I'll show the whole family the photo. She started crying and then left, and my fiancé blew up at me saying I can't be serious, and that I overreacted because his mom just wanted to try the dress on. No harm done. But I refused to listen to him, because in my opinion, the dress should only be worn by the bride and the bride only. Quite frankly, I felt disgusted looking at the dress again. I don't want it anymore. And so I think it's fair that she pays me after she ruined it for me. He yelled at me and told me to wake up and stop treating his mom like that, as if she was an enemy. We had a fight after he failed to get me to back down, and has been staying with his mom since then. I felt awful, but I spent $3,000 on this dress and worked hard to get it. I can't stand looking at it, but people in my family think I'm escalating things and risking my relationship with not only future mother-in-law, but my fiancé as well. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, but are you sure you want to marry this guy? He stood guard outside your bedroom so that his mother could try on your wedding dress. Do you think he will ever stand up for you against her? Send a photo to everyone invited, with an announcement that regretfully, you will no longer be participating in the wedding but you wish the couple the best. Not the a-hole, but the problem isn't just her future mother-in-law, it's her fiancé. He let her in. He was going to lie and hide from you that she tried it on. He is defending her actions. He disrespected your belongings. He didn't care about your feelings, and still doesn't. He has shown he doesn't care about your boundaries. He decided his mother's want to try it on is more important than your feelings, and that won't go away when you're married. Personally, my petty self would call off the engagement, and the announcement of that would be the picture of his mom in a wedding dress stating, "Unfortunately, I cannot marry fiancé." As it appears, he's already married and emotionally committed to his mother. At the bare minimum, you should postpone until he can respect your boundaries. Do every bit of this. My petty gremlin heart loves it and wants to be friends with you. I thank my mother for the shiny spine she taught me to have, and this is exactly what I do. Thankfully, my own future mother-in-law is a literal angel who makes me glass pendants and sends presents for my dog on special occasions. Update: my fiancé called and offered to pay for the dress himself so we could end the conflict. But he wants me to 1. Hand him my phone so he can delete the photo himself. 2. Swear that I don't have any copies to use against his mom later. 3. Apologize to his mom. 4. And lastly, he asked that I quit his family group chat and log out of Facebook for at least a month. I haven't responded yet, and I'm not sure if I'll agree, because I don't want him to pay for it. I want his mom, the one who wore it, to pay for it. Not being vicious, but trying to hold her accountable. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend that I don't want to take care of his son anymore? My boyfriend 30 has a son 6. When we started our relationship, he was 2. His mother didn't want me to be involved in the care of their child, and she and I have never really seen eye to eye. In the beginning, it went really well, and his son was here every other week. But the older he got, the less time he has with his mom, and he's with us 100% now since his mom was arrested a year ago. In the beginning, we divided the chores and childcare equally. But 4 months ago, my boyfriend got an opportunity to work on 3 projects, which could lead him to a big promotion. He's always working late, either from home or in the office, and I've been doing all the chores and childcare since then. I cook, clean, get his son ready in the morning, and drop him off at daycare. The only thing my boyfriend has to do is get his son ready for bed. I told him last Friday that from Monday on, I won't be doing the childcare anymore. He got angry, and he said that we're family and we need to support each other. He told me he needed me right now, and that I just need to be patient. I replied saying that this is his son, and he needed to do the majority of the childcare. I've been doing all of it, and it's not fair since he is his father. He then went into the other room, got his son, and told his son that mommy says she doesn't want to take care of you anymore, while pointing at me. I said to not call me that because I'm not his mother, but his son started crying. I of course comforted and apologized to his son, because it wasn't my intention to upset him. My boyfriend is still mad and has been taking care of his son but won't speak to me. I didn't think it was unreasonable. He is the parent and needs to do more of the childcare. And also, the mom doesn't even want me to be involved in childcare, so I'm already overstepping her wishes. My sister is on his side and says I'm at fault since he and I are a family now and he needs my support right now, and that the mother's wishes don't matter at all right now. Like, I don't think this was at all unreasonable, but I'm not sure if I was unreasonable here. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I see a lot of you asking if I work. I give at-home care to the elderly and disabled. I've lowered the number of hours that I work to 20 to 28 hours per week. How demanding my work is truly depends on the day and which client I have on my schedule. Sometimes I have clients in my schedule that don't require a lot of time, and I'm finished by 12 p.m. And the other times I have to work until 8 p.m. It really varies per day. Not the a-hole. Mommy says she doesn't want to take care of you anymore. WTF? You need to break up with this man yesterday. How cruel can you be to take your anger at your partner out on a child? Leave him. Especially a child who almost certainly has abandonment issues, given that his bio mom is in prison and who has barely spent any time with his dad for the past 4 months because he's working all the time. This child is going to need so much therapy one day. Exactly. It's bad enough that he pulled his manipulative BS on her, but him hurting and scaring his child in the process is beyond cruel. not the a-hole. Don't hide behind what the mom would want. Whether you are the stepmom or not is irrelevant here. He's dumping all of the domestic work on you, and that is unfair, whether you are a stepmom or bio mom or whatever. If that is not the life you want, you need to break up and leave, because he's obviously benefiting from you providing full-time childcare and domestic labor, and won't want to give it up because it has value, and he is extracting that value from you and doesn't want to start paying someone to do what you do for free. What he did to the child is such an abusive thing to do too. He doesn't care about the kid at all, just about using the child to beat you into submission with. This relationship is over. If you stay, this is the life you'll have. To add to this, OP's work taking care of the kid and home allows the boyfriend to work on his projects that are leading to his promotions. What is OP getting out of this? She's not married to him, so if they broke up, she'd have nothing to show from her time being a free nanny, while he has benefited greatly. He's taking advantage of OP. Last story. Am I the a-hole for saying again after my sister announced that she's pregnant with twins? My 21 female sister, 32 female, has been married to her husband, 33 male, for 8 years. They already have 6 kids total, the last one born 5 months ago. Yesterday, my sister had announced that she's 3 months pregnant with twins, and while everyone was congratulating her, I said out loud, "Oh my God, again? Can't your stupid husband leave you alone?" I didn't mean to say it out loud, but it slipped out, and my sister looked at me angrily and literally dragged me into another room and asked, "Why the heck did you say that?" I told her that she and her husband have been pregnant every year for the last 8 years and that she needs to take a break. I was worried about her having so many babies in such a short time, and I didn't want anything bad happening to her. She then said, "How about you leave us alone and worry about your own issues? This is my life, so buzz off." My mother told me that I should apologize for being rude, but I told her that I won't apologize for showing concern. But now I just can't help thinking that maybe I was being an a-hole and sticking my nose into other people's business. I was just worried, but maybe I was being a jerk. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Yes, I do babysit my sister's kids sometimes, and all 6 of them at the same time whenever they need me to and if I'm available. They pay me $30 to $50 per hour, but their kids are pretty destructive, and they don't respect other adults like they're supposed to, so it's a full chore watching after them. I'm aware that the stupid husband comment was inappropriate, but I have almost no filter, and my stupid mouth says stuff before my brain can stop it. You're the a-hole. I said out loud, "Oh my God, again?" Rude and a-hole behavior, but somewhat understandable. Can your stupid husband leave you alone? What is wrong with you? You said this out loud and still think you may not be the a-hole? Get out of here with that nonsense. I feel the "you're the a-hole" could come with a caveat. Sure, it was rude, but would be interested to hear more about her sister's financial situation and whatnot. 8 kids is a lot, and as crazy as it sounds, they're all near each other in age. I feel bad for the kids. They're gonna have to be sharing rooms, hand-me-downs, etc. Kids are expensive, let alone 8. I get why you would say that, but their financial situation doesn't matter in this context, in my opinion at least. You're the a-hole. Look, I don't fault you for thinking that. All of my sister-in-laws are prolific Mormon housewives. I have so many nieces and nephews, it's obscene. And my wife makes jokes about the 8th kid rappelling down the umbilical cord or falling out when we're alone together. But in front of the rest of the family, we offer our congratulations. She could be perfectly healthy. Sure, maybe not, but she is right. That is none of your concern. If she's not having massive issues with the pregnancies and her husband has never given you abusive vibes, their incessant breeding is really none of your business. Just apologize and explain that you're initially concerned, but now realize that is none of your business. Maybe throw in that you were being biased because you could never have so many children, unless something hinky was going on, but you realize that your sister isn't you, and that you are just happy to know that she's happy and healthy, and really feel bad about embarrassing her and yourself in front of the family.